So hello everyone, welcome to Juvenile Gurukul presents Christmas to Full Marks 40 Days Board Prep Secrets. I'm Kishore Dash and I'll be discussing with you today the English scoring map CBSE Class 10 Poetry Weightage explained. So let's start. A gift of Christmas, boards में full marks. Okay. So this is our first section, which is section wise weightage. So here you can see section A, B and C along with the topics. That's reading skill. I hope you guys know what reading skills are. And your reading skills contains 20 marks. You have to be very prompt and very apt in reading in order to get 20 marks. Then we have writing skills and grammar. So in the writing skills and grammar section, we also have 20 marks. And lastly, we have the language through literature, which is a very important section, and we are getting 40 marks over there. And 40 marks are very big. So now let's jump up to the next section. If you guys want, you guys can take a screenshot of this slide. It will be very helpful. Take a screenshot. Okay. Now the next slide, it shows that how it is divided. Here in English, we'll get project of 20 marks. That means we are getting 20 marks at free through the projects. And then the later 80 marks that belongs to the theory section. In the theory section, we have poetry, we have prose, we have the supplementary reader, we have writing, we have comprehension, and we have grammar. So comprehension, basically it is very important. If you can write the correct answers in the correct way, then it will be very easy for you guys. Then in the writing section, you have to write only letters, only formal letters, which will come back again. And in the grammar, it's very easy. It will be very easy to get good scores in grammar. Okay, so I hope it's clear. The slide is very clear to you guys. Now let's move on. Okay, so this is the section which tells us about the marks distribution in the exam. So here we can see the content, the choice, whether you have any choice of questions or no, then the question and the marks. So in the first section we have the reading skills, which I have told you earlier, that is the passage. So you will get no choices over here. And you will get 2 questions of 10 marks each, so this makes 20 marks in all. And then we can go to the grammar or the writing section. The grammar and the writing section also contains 10 and 10, 20 marks. Do you have any choice? Yes, you have choices over in grammar. So you'll get 12 questions, out of which you have to answer only 10. And the 12 questions will be of 1 mark each. Okay, so 10 questions you have to answer, you are getting 10 marks. That's easy. And coming back to the writing skills or the writing section, you are getting some choices. You'll get 1 each, 1 on each. That means 2 questions you have to answer 2 questions only, and you are getting more 10 marks. 5 plus 5, 10. Okay, so now let's talk about the third section, that is the literature section. Here we are getting the prose, the poetry and the supplementary reader. So are you getting the choices? Yes, we are getting the choices. We are getting the first choice, 1 upon 1. Then we are getting 5 questions, out of which we have to answer only 4. And then we are getting 3 questions, out of which we have to answer only 2. Okay. And yes, there is also another option that where we are getting 1 upon 1. So I hope it's clear. And now let's see the questions. What will be the questions pattern actually? So from the prose, we are getting 2 extract based questions. 2 of the extract based questions. Then we are getting 4 questions. And we are getting 2 questions more along with another 2 questions which will be of 6 marks. Okay. So I hope we are done with this section. Let's move on to the next section. So the next section or the next slide shows us the number of poetries we have. We really have a lot of poetries. So let's take a, you guys can take a screenshot of these poetries, or we all know about these poetries now. So now let's jump to another slide which we will explain. Okay, so now This slide is all about quick discussions. We will be doing some quick and some good discussions over each poetry, over each and every topic right now, which are very important to your career and to your boards. Okay, so let's start with the first poetry we have, that is Dust of Snow. Every one of us know what dust of snow is, right? So there's nothing to discuss a lot about this. We'll only look at the important things, the important facts that we have to remember during the examination. Okay, so let's see what's written over here. So Robert Frost's Dust of Snow opens with the poet feeling melancholic under a hemlock tree. So we know what a hemlock tree is, and we know this poem very well. This is just a small gist so that you can answer any questions from Dust of Snow. Okay. A crow on the tree shakes down a few flakes of snow onto him. The small event, a light shower of snow dust, unexpectedly lifts the poet's spirits. Okay, so the poet's spirits are lifted. The spirits are lifted means what? The poet is feeling the nature. The poet is very, very much enjoying the nature. He's enjoying the dust of snows. Okay. The poet reflects that this brief moment in nature has changed his outlook and saved a part of his day from regret. Okay, so basically we can just think about the poet Robert Frost, who was feeling melancholic, which means sad. He was very sad during the whole day. But when the dust of snow fell upon him, he just felt that instant urge to be very, very calm, and he wanted to enjoy nature. He started enjoying nature actually. Okay, so at the first place, he was lamenting, he was regretting about his day. But in the second phase, when the dust of snow started to fall, he started enjoying his day, he started enjoying the whole scene. Now, the tone is quiet and hopeful, showing how a small natural incident can bring cheer and a new perspective. So this basically says that how a very saddened day of yours can be transformed into the most happiest day of your life just with the influence of nature on it. So nature is a very important thing, it's very important in our life, like Robert Frost, like William Wordsworth. Okay, so we won't be talking about William Wordsworth right now. Robert Frost is very important for us because we have a lot of poems of him. Okay, so I hope it's clear. If you guys want to take a screenshot, read this whole thing, and score full marks on Dust of Snow. I hope we are done with the screenshot. Now let's move on to the next slide, which is of Fire and Ice, another Robert Frost's geniuses. Fire and Ice. So remember, in the last slide we had Dust of Snow. Now we are having Fire and Ice. So Robert Frost loves nature, right? He loves natural phenomena. Okay, so let's start again. In Fire and Ice, Frost muses on how the world might end, comparing the power of desire. Okay, so basically, Robert Frost is a very good user of words. He knows how to use words. So he basically compares fire with desire, or he is just saying that fire equals desire, your willingness, what you want it very, very keenly. You have a great urge of getting that particular thing. That's fire in you. And hate, which is ice. So these two are very important things. One is hate, which is compared to ice, and the other one desire, which is compared to fire. So these are very important things. Mark these things. Short questions will be there. So there may be a question of 1 mark, which will say, what do you understand by the term desire in the poem Fire and Ice by Robert Frost? Or what do you understand by the term hate? Okay, or ice. Now let's continue. Begins by noting that some say the world will end in fire and others in ice. So there are some people who says that the world might end due to fire, or due to the desire of people, or due to the hate or the eyes, according to the poet. Okay, so now this is a very clear thing. If you are too much ambitious, if you desire a lot, then it will be very difficult for you to actually get the whole thing. But if you are hating some people, if you are envious of someone, it is very bad. It's not going to happen any day. It's not possible. If you hate someone, it's not possible to achieve anything. You cannot achieve anything by hating anyone. You have to actually do a lot of hard work to achieve something. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, so from his own tasting of desire, the speaker sides with fire, but he also acknowledges knowing enough of hate to say that eyes would be great destruction as well. Okay, so now the thing is that, wait a second. So the poet has already told us about desire and hate. Now he is again saying that he has uh, tasted the both of the thing. He had tasted both of the thing. He had tasted desire, or he has also acknowledged knowing enough of hate. Okay, so none of these are in too much quantity good. Okay, so if you hating someone is not good at all, but yeah, you can keep up having desires. You can have urges of getting anything. That's very good. Okay, now let's move on. Almost conversational tone. Fire, which means passion and greed. So these are very important words. Mark these out. And eyes, which means cold hate. Cold hatred. You don't talk to anyone. You don't like talking to anyone. You don't like seeing anyone. That's called cold hate. Okay? Are both powerful enough to bring about destruction. Okay. So we have to understand one thing, or we have to memorize one thing. This line, that fire and ice, both of these are enough to bring destruction to this earth. Okay. So we don't have to keep a lot of desire, and we also don't have to keep a lot of hate against anyone. Okay. These are not important. Ultimately, he concludes that either could suffice to end the world. Okay. So the poet is saying that if these two things prevail in very much quantity in our world, these will be enough to end the world. Okay. So this is the whole summary of the poem. You can take a screenshot of this thing, which will help you later in your academics and your boards. Okay. Now moving on to the next slide. Okay. Now, a tiger in the zoo. So a tiger in the zoo is basically talking about a tiger who is captured or who is caged in a zoo. Okay, so we know what a zoo is and what sort of tortures are there, right? So let's go on with this poem. So Leslie Norris's poem. Leslie Norris, a great author. Leslie Norris's poem describes a magnificent tiger kept in a small zoo cage. Okay, so like all of us has once in a while gone to a zoo, right? And we have seen tigers, leopards, lions, a lot of animals over there. Isn't it very sad to see all those living animals, all those natural inhabitants of the jungle caged in a zoo? It's very sad, right? So okay, let's move on with the topic. In the first stanza, the tiger paces back and forth on pads of velvet. So pads of velvet. Pads of velvet basically means the tiger's pads, his thumb or his panja, which is said. Full of suppressed anger. The tiger has suppressed his anger because he's caged. The tiger is built differently. It's not like a caged animal. You cannot domesticate a tiger, right? It is born to rule the jungle. It is born to rule that or do that. It is you born to move freely in the jungle. You cannot cage a tiger. So that's why the tiger is basically suppressing his anger. He's putting his anger down. Okay. The poet then imagines how the tiger should live, lurking the shadowy jungle grass and charging deer at a water water hole, watering hole. Okay. So basically, the poet is trying to say that tiger is not meant to be caged. Okay, a tiger is meant to run behind a deer, behind its prey. It's not meant to be caged and fed every day. Okay, that's the thing. Its reality, however, the tiger is locked in a concrete cell. Its strength is trapped. Okay, so the tiger's strength is trapped behind the bars. So behind the bars, we all know what behind the bars is. You can see in the picture also. The tiger is behind the bars. So the tiger's strengths are trapped behind the bars, and it paces quietly while visitors watch. Okay, so now this is a very common phenomena in any zoo, whatever, wherever we have gone. It's very common that whenever we pass by a tiger or a lion or any other animal like a chimpanzee or a crocodile, anything, it can be anything, they just moves away, they just slowly walks away from us, right? That's the whole thing. And it paces quietly while visitors watch. At night, the tiger cannot sleep. It hears the distant sound of a patrol car. So now, what's a patrol car? Patrol cars are those cars which roam around in the city whenever there is a theft or basically a police car. Okay, so the police car is not in the zoo, but the zoo has their own patrolling car that looks after each and every animal. So the tiger cannot sleep due to the patrol car and its noises, and stares at the stars, lost in thought about its confinement. Okay, so the tiger is basically staring to the stars and he's thinking about his confinement. His confinement means he's caged. He's caged. He's completely caged. He cannot do anything. He cannot move about freely. He cannot just leave over there, right? The tone is sympathetic, contrasting the tiger's wild power with its dull life in captivity. Okay, so the tone of the poet is sympathetic. Okay, so you guys can just mark out these words: sympathetic and contrasting the tiger's wild power with its life in captivity. So this is a very important line. You guys can use it with any answer and just conclude any answer of this poem with this line. Okay, I hope it's clear. Take a screenshot. Moving back, next slide. Okay, so this is how to tell wild animals. How to Tell Wild Animals is also a very beautiful poem, a very beautiful natural poem, basically written by Carolyn Wells. Okay, so this poem is basically a comic poem, a very humorous one. We all know what humor means, right? It means that we will laugh out louder after listening to the whole poem. Okay, so let's just check it out. Carolyn Wells's humorous poem gives tongue in cheek. Okay, so tongue in cheek, a very very nice word. So this means that you will burst out of laughter. Okay, tongue in cheek advice on identifying wild animals. Okay, so he has given a very humorous way of identifying some wild animals. Okay, not young. By how they kill you. Okay, so it's very humorous. By he's telling that how the tiger or the bear or the lion will kill you, and that too in a very humorous way, and which in turn tells us about that animal, that particular animal which we know already. Okay. Each stanza describes a creature and how you would recognize it only by the way it greets or hugs you. Okay, that's very important. Greets or hugs you. So the poet basically is saying that whenever a tiger or however a tiger comes to you and it hugs you or greets you, this will tell you that whether you will live or you will die. Okay. For example, a large tawny beast that roars as you are dying is the Asian lion. So, Sorry for the mishap. Okay. So what is the Asian lion? He has said that a large tawny beast that roars as you are dying is the Asian lion, and the striped yellow and black animal that begins to eat you is the Bengal tiger. Right. So this is the thing. That's how he describes animals, or he described the Asian lion and the Bengal tiger. So remember this thing: a striped yellow and black animal that begins to eat you is the Bengal tiger. Okay. Now, if an animal with a peppered spotted coat jumps on you, it is the leopard. Okay, so now how he describes the leopard? He says that animal with a peppered spotted coat jumps on you is the leopard. Okay, I hope it's clear. If a creature hugs you very hard, be sure it's a bear. Okay, so whenever a creature hugs you very hard, it's a bear. Now, the poem also notes that hyenas smile while eating prey. Okay, so hyenas smile while eating prey, which are basically crocodiles. Crocodiles cry. Okay, so crocodiles cry is also an idiom. Okay, this means fake cry. That means that you are faking your cry, your tears. That's called a crocodile cry. So the hyena smile is compared, or it is said to be like the crocodile's cry, which is a fake cry or fake melancholy, whatever it is. And a chameleon, we all know what a chameleon is. Chameleon is easy to spot when no one else is in the tree. Okay, the chameleon is very easy to spot when no one else is in the tree. Okay. Wells treats these dangerous um, So Wells treats these dangers with a comic tone. So the tone of Wells was very comic, as I have said earlier that it is a humorous poem. Okay, so his tone was very comic. The fun comes from treating the animals' deadly traits as clues to their identity. Okay, so mark this out. From comic tone. The fun comes from treating the animals as deadly traits. We all know what traits is. So this is the whole thing. How to tell wild animals or how to know wild animals. Whatever it is. So take a screenshot of this. It will be very helpful for you in your boards. Okay, I hope we are done. Now moving back to the next slide. Okay, so the ballpoint. Now the next poem is the ball poem. Let's see what it is. So John Barrowman's poem. John Barrowman's The Ball poem recounts a boy who has lost his beloved ball when it rolls into a harbor. Okay, so what does it say? The whole poem? It tells the story of a boy who has lost his beloved ball. Okay, so the boy has lost his beloved ball which rolled into a harbor. We all know what a harbor is. The speaker is simply the speaker simply describes the boy standing rigid. Okay, so rigid. The boy was standing very rigid. He was trembling and staring. So we all know the words rigid, trembling, and staring at the water as his ball sinks. Okay, as his ball, what his ball sinks. Right now, the child's grief is profound because the ball was all he had. Child had nothing other than the ball, and the ball was such an important part of his life. Now the ball has sunken. Okay, the ball has sunken completely. Okay, so now the child's grief is profound because the ball was all he had. So the child only had the ball. Okay, he had nothing else as a toy. The poet suggests that this loss teaches the boy a universal lesson about value and impermanence. Okay, impermanence means if anything that you have lost, which is very important to you, now you have to leave alone, or the state of feeling that thing. Okay, so that's impermanence. So what the loss of the ball teaches the boy is value and impermanence. Okay, now a moment marking his entrance into adulthood with a painful new understanding of loss. Okay, so now the poet is saying that all these losses, I mean only one loss was there, the loss of his ball. This teaches the boy when he is entering into his adulthood. Look at this, entrance into his adulthood teaches teaches the boy a new painful understanding of loss. Okay, so what does this teach the boy? A painful new understanding of loss. So before this whole incident, one thing about loss, it can be anything that the boy knew, right? Now for him, there is a newer version of understanding loss. Okay, now let's move on. The tone is quiet and introspective. Okay, so quiet and introspective. We have to understand that the tone by the poet is very quiet. The poet has kept the whole poem very quiet. If you read the whole poem, you will understand that. The tone is quiet and introspective, focusing on the boy's silent reaction and the weight of even a small loss in a child's life. Okay, so you guys can underline this from the tone. Says quiet and introspective, focusing on the boy's silent reaction and the weight of even a small loss in a child's life. I hope it's clear. Now take a screenshot of this. Okay, let's move on to the next. Okay, so the next topic is Amanda. Amanda is very interesting poem, right? So very good poem basically. Let's start. Robin Klein's poem Amanda presents a conversation between a nagging parent and a daydreaming girl. Okay, so what does it tell us? At the first place, it's basically a conversation between nagging parent and a daydreaming girl. Okay, that's very important. The girl is daydreaming. Okay. Each stanza has the parent scolding Amanda for something. So the parents are basically scolding Amanda every single time, whatever she was doing. It can be anything. It's a very petty issue like biting nails, slouching, or not tidying room, eating chocolates, etc., etc., whatever it was. Okay, so we have to memorize all these things: biting nails, slouching, not tidying room, eating chocolate. Okay. Now, while Amanda imagines a fantasy life in response. Now, Amanda, as we have said earlier, that she was a daydreaming girl. She used to dream in day, waking up, right? So she imagines fantasy, right? Amanda imagines a fantasy life in response. Now, say for example, I'm scolding you guys, or I'm scolding any one of you, and you guys are daydreaming about a fantasy life where you are riding in a BMW or a Lamborghini. That's not right, right? So that's the whole thing. I'm scolding you, and you are telling me that, sir, I am riding a Lambo right now. That's not good. Okay. Now, for instance, when told not to bite her nails or slouch, Amanda drifts into a daydream of being a mermaid drifting in a green sea. Okay, now just think of the level of daydreaming of Amanda where when she was told not to bite her nails or slouch, she was daydreaming about of being a mermaid drifting in a green sea. Okay, so now that's fantasy over which we don't have any control. Okay, we have no control over fantasy. We can dream, we can fantasize anything, whatever we want. That's why Amanda was fantasizing herself to be a mermaid who was drifting in a green sea. Okay. Now, when asked about chores, she imagines being a carefree orphan wandering the street with bare feet. Now just think of this thing when she was asked about chores, about her daily works. She imagines herself being a carefree orphan. Imagines being a carefree orphan. We all know what orphan is. Who doesn't have any pen, right? Orphan wandering the street with bare feet. Okay. So basically, this was the intensity of Amanda's daydreaming. Okay. Each scolding by her parent, like, don't eat that chocolate, remember your acne. So once one of her parents just scolded her by saying that don't eat that chocolate, remember your acne. She had an acne. She is met by another daydream. She imagines herself as Rapunzel in a tower. Okay, so when she was scolded for not eating a chocolate, and then she's met by another daydream which says that she has imagined herself as a Rapunzel in a tower. Okay. In the final stanza, the parent accuses Amanda of sulking. Okay. So in the final stanza, the parent accuses Amanda of sulking. Okay. So this is very important. You guys can take a screenshot of this. Okay. Moving on to the next topic. The next topic is the trees. This is also a very interesting topic, basically, the trees, written by Adrian Rich. So now, one important thing is that we have to remember the name of the authors or the poets of every single poem, every single prose, and even every single supplementary readers. Okay, we have to remember the name of the poet. We have to start by writing Robert Frost's poem like this, or whatever the poet's name is. Okay. So now, Edwin Rich's The Trees uses a dream-like image to show trees freeing themselves. Okay, it shows how trees actually freeze them. Uh, Say for example, or just imagine the trees and strangled. It is chained. Okay, the tree is chained. Now it will dechain itself. It will break the shackles. Okay, and move out freely. That's the thing. Now, in the poem, the trees suddenly uproot and creep out of the house at night to join the empty forest outside. Okay, so it's very clear, I think, from here in the poem. The trees suddenly uproot and creep out of the house. Creep out means walk out. Walk out creepily. You all know what uproot is. Of the house at night to rejoin the empty forest outside. Okay, so we all know what is the natural inhabitant of the inhabit of the trees. That's the forest, right? So if we cut a tree from the forest and put it in our bedroom, that's not right. Okay. So due to that thing, the trees suddenly uprooted themselves and they started creeping out of the house to the empty forest nearby. Okay. This is the whole thing basically of the poem. The poem circles around all these things. The roots work all night to leave the veranda's cracks, and the trees shuffle out, leaving the house like discharged patients finally leaving a hospital. Okay, so just look at the comparisons. These are very important and will be very important for the boards actually. So, discharged patients. We all know how discharged patients move out of the hospital and how the hospital bed looks like, right? That's the whole thing. That's the similar situation how the veranda or how the house was looking when every single tree was creeping out of the house to rejoin the forest again. Okay. By morning, the once empty woods are filled with these trees. The narrator describes watching from inside, she smells the leaves and lichen as the trees depart. Okay, so the narrator is describing the whole scenario like this, that from inside she smells the leaves and lichen as the trees depart. Okay, the tone is vivid and lyrical, so it is a lyrical poem. We all know what a lyrical poem is. So lyrical poem basically is like, say for example, we have rhymes, rhyme scheme of, say for example, A B A B A B and then a C and a D. So this is how a lyrical poem or a rhyme scheme looks like. Okay, I hope it's clear. We'll take care of it. So this is a lyrical poem and it has a vivid tone. The surreal scene suggests a longing for freedom, with the trees returning to their natural home as if answering their own deep desire to be in the wild. Okay, so basically they had a very deep desire to be in the wild. They are not meant to be caged. They are not meant to be chained in a house, in a bedroom or in a living room. Okay, the desire to be in the wild. Okay, so this line you can use as a concluding line. Okay, the surreal scene suggests a longing for freedom, with the trees returning to their natural. Okay, this can be used as a concluding line. Take a screenshot. It will be very easier for you to understand. Moving on to the next topic, which is fog. Now, fog is a very small poetry, right? It's very small. Let's discuss very quickly. Fog by Carl Sandburg. Okay. So Carl Sandburg's brief poem uses a simple metaphor to describe fog moving through a city. Okay. So it's a very simple metaphor. Okay. So as we are studying in class 10, we are getting ready for the boards. We all know what a metaphor is. Okay. If you have any problem understanding metaphor or any poetic devices, please let us know in the comment section. Okay. Uses a simple metaphor to describe fog moving through a city. It writes that the fog comes on little cat feet. Okay. It says that the fog comes on little cat feet. Now what is this little cat feet mean? Little cat feet means that the way a little cat walks in, the fog walks in like this. Cats basically walks very slowly, right? We cannot understand, or we cannot just uh, put our attention towards that when a cat is moving, right? Like this, the fog also comes in and sits silently over harbor and city. Okay, so the poet is saying that the fog sits over very quietly, as it comes very quietly over harbor and city. Okay, and then drifts away. The fog quietly creeps in like a cat, settles over the landscape and leaves without a sound. Okay, so this is the thing. The fog comes like a cat. It settles over the whole city and leaves without a noise. Okay, that's the thing. The tone is calm and observant, celebrating the quiet beauty of this everyday natural event. Okay, so the tone is very calm and observant. Okay, the poet is very calm over here with this poetry, and he is very observant. He observed how the fog comes, how the fog drips, how the fog settles over the city, and ultimately how the fog leaves the city. Okay, that's the tone, celebrating the quiet beauty of this everyday natural event. Okay, I hope it's clear. If you have any problem, let us know in the comment section. Okay, we'll try to catch it up. Take a screenshot very fast. Come on, let's go. Let's move on to the next topic. The next topic, the tale of custard dragon. Okay, very interesting topic again. Let's start again. Ogden Nash's humorous ballad. Okay, so this topic is written by Ogden Nash, and with his humor, he has created a ballad. So, do we know what a ballad is? If we know what a ballad is, let us know in the comment section also. Okay, and if we don't know what a ballad is, please let us know in the comment section. Okay, let's move on. Ogden Nash's humorous ballad introduces Belinda and her four pets. Okay, so Belinda and her four pets. Belinda has a black kitten named Ink. Okay, so Belinda has a black kitten. Remember this, and she named the black kitten Ink. A grey mouse named Blink. Okay, so the mouse is named Blink. A yellow dog named Mustard, and a small dragon named Custard. Okay, so we have to remember the name of the four pets, which is Ink, Blink, Mustard, and Custard. Now these are very rhythmic names, rhymed very cleverly. Okay. All the animals except Custard boasts of their courage. Belinda even tickles Custard, and they all tease him for being cowardly. Okay, so basically all the other animals, that is the black kitten, the grey mouse and the yellow dog, all of them were very courageous, they were very brave, except that dragon Custard, which is basically not gonna happen. Right? The dragons are very brave, right? But here our dragon is not so brave, he's a coward. Okay. So all of them used to tease that dragon of being that much coward. Now, one night, a pirate climbs in by the window. So, one night, a pirate climbs in by the window. Remember this? The pirate climbs in by the window. Mustard runs, Ink hides, Blink squeaks. Okay, so Mustard runs, Ink hides, and Blink squeaks. Okay, but Custard the dragon springs to action. Okay, but Custard the coward one, he springs to action. Now he started taking action against that pirate. He chases the pirate with a clatter and a clank, gobbling him up despite everyone calling him a coward. Okay, so basically Custard just gobbled the pirate up, okay, without being scared. Afterwards, Belinda and the others celebrate Custard as a hero. Yet Custard modestly admits he still feels less brave than everyone else. Okay? So basically, Custard was a very down-to-earth dragon. Okay, he was very humble. The poem is told in a playful, rhythmic tone, making Custard's unexpected heroism funny. Okay, so this is the concluding line which we can use. Take a screenshot; it will be very helpful. Moving on to the next topic. Okay. Now for Anne Gregory. This poem is also a very interesting poem. Let's see. Now this one is written by W.B. Yeats. W.B. Yeats, a very famous poet. We won't discuss him right now. Okay. W.B. Yeats' poem for Anne Gregory is a conversation about beauty and love. Okay. So Mr. Yeats' poem for Anne Gregory is a conversation about beauty and love. Sorry. In the first stanza, the speaker addresses Anne, saying that her honey-colored hair is so beautiful that any young man who rejected her would be despairing. Okay, so this is the thing. In the first stanza, the speaker addresses Anne, saying that her honey colored hair is so beautiful that any young man who rejected her would be despairing. He concludes that a man could hardly love her for her true self and not for her golden hairs. Okay, so what the poet says in the ending is that no one will love Anne for her personality or for her face cut or whatever it is, but they will love her for her golden hair. Okay? Anne replies that she could dye her hair any color, brown, black, carrot, so that true lovers would see her inner self, not the hair. Okay, so that was Anne's response, a very modest response it was. She replies that she would dye her hair with any color, say for brown, it can be black, it can be carrot, so that her real lovers don't fall for her golden hairs, but fall for her real self. In the final part, the speaker notes that an old holy man said only God can love a person for who they truly are. Okay, so what's there in the final part? In the final part, the speaker notes that an old holy man said only God can love a person for who they truly are. Because ordinary people are always drawn to outward appearances. Okay, so he says that ordinary people are always drawn towards the outward appearances. The tone is gentle and reflective, underscoring the idea that humans are often enchanted by surface beauty while inner qualities go unseen. Okay, so this will be our concluding line, which we can use apparently in our examination. Okay. The tone is gentle and reflective, underscoring the idea that humans are often enchanted by surface beauty, qualities go unseen. Okay, take a quick screenshot. Let's move on. Okay, so we are done with the poetries. We're done with Anne Gregory. Now, this is one of the most important pages or the slide. Okay, so here we will discuss some questions, some PYQs basically. So these are PYQs, previous year questions. Okay, let's see. So here it is said that read the given extracts A and B and answer any one of them. Okay, for 5 marks only. So this means that we have to answer any one of two extracts. Any one of two extracts. Let's take A. He is learning well behind his desperate eyes the epistemology of laws, how to stand up, knowing what every man must one day know and most know many days how to stand up. From the ball poem. Okay. Now, let's try to figure out the question. So, okay. What emotions are most appropriately conveyed by the phrase desperate eyes and epistemology of loss? Okay, so you have to answer this question and that is MCQ basically. You have 5 options. You have to select the correct option. A 1 or 3, B 1, 4 and 5, C 2, 3 and 4 and D 4 and 5. You have to answer like this. Okay. I'm not going to answer this, okay? You have to answer this and let us know in the comment section. Let's see how many of you are right. Now moving on to the next question, the second question. What does the phrase how to stand up suggest about the boy's emotional growth? Okay, so now this is a very important question and very tricky question too. Like you have to attempt this question in such a way that you get 2 marks. You don't have to be very good or very what it said is that you cannot write a lot for 2 marks, right? You have to be very precise with your word selection over here. Since it is a 2 marks question, you have to write the exact answer over here. Okay, we'll come on to this later. Next one, which phrase from the extract conveys the poet's idea that loss is universal for 1 mark? And last is the fill in the blanks. Fill in the blanks with the phrase to suitably complete the sentence. You have to complete the whole sentence. The loss of his ball symbolizes dash in life. Okay, so this is the thing. Now let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so this is the another part where it is said that answer any four of the following 5 questions in about 50 words. 4 into 3, 3 marks each. You have to answer any four, okay, of these 5 questions. So now these green dotted questions or these green questions are basically from prose. From poetry. Sorry, my bad. So what's from poetry? Let's see. How does the use of repetition in the poem Amanda highlight the speaker's expectations and Amanda's response? Now, since this question is of 3 marks, we can answer a bit lengthy. Okay? We can use some words. We can start by writing Amanda in the poem Amanda or by the poet's name and start writing the whole answer. We have to give the exact responses. No. Do we have to give the exact way the parents scolded Amanda? No, not at all. We just have to write the Z since it's a 3 marks question. Okay. We have to put up some words which are very familiar to the course subject, the course summary. We have to address the themes a bit, and that's it. That's the answer. And we have to conclude it very nicely and very precisely. Okay. Moving on to the next question. How does the line "and then moves on" reflect the transient nature of the fog, thereby contributing to the poem's deeper message about life's impermanence? Okay. So this question is basically it is asking for writing something. Okay, you can write over in this question. Like this answer, it won't be very lengthy, but it has to be precise. Every single answer has to be precise to get full marks. Okay, you cannot just write anything random over there. You just cannot put up the summary over here in this question. Okay, this whole thing has to be very precise. You have to be apt with your word selection. Like this is from the poem Fog, and as we have read Fog, we know what happened in the whole poem, right? We know how the fog entered, how the fog spread over the city and the harbor, and how the poet moved on, how it moved away. We all know about these things. So we can put up those things over here. We can put up the theme over here, a little bit of the theme, a little bit of comparisons if there is any, and there are some comparisons. Like the frog is compared to the cat's work, right? It is compared to the cat's work. So all these things we have to put up in the answer, and the answer will be good to go, and we will be ready to get 3 marks. Okay. Now let's move on to the next topic or the next slide. Okay. So our 6 marks question over here, which says that answer any one of the following 2 questions in about 100 to 120 words. So now, since you have a limitation of words of about 120, this doesn't mean that we cannot write above 120. We can write 10 or 5 words, 5, 10 or 15 words above 120, but try to keep it within 120 or 110 words. Okay, let's see the questions right now. So the first question says that it is from prose actually, and the second question from poetry. The poems "The Trees" and "The Tiger in the Zoo" resonate the theme of importance of freedom and the desire to break free from any kind of dominance. Examine. Now this is a very good and a very interesting questions. I hope a lot of students who has seen all the previous slides will be able to answer this question. Okay. Now, we just have to discuss what happened with the trees in the poem "The Tree" and a tiger in the zoo. What happened to the tiger? We just have to keep that thing in mind that we have to answer the whole thing within the perseverance or within the boundary of how to get freedom from something. Okay, we have to write that whole thing like this. Okay, that's the important thing. And then we can put up a little bit of summary over here also, since we have a lot of words. Okay, and if there is no grammatical mistakes, no wrong words, no misspelled words, then will be very fine and will be very good to get 6 marks out of 6 marks over here. So I hope it's very clear to all of you guys, and I hope you liked the video over here. So please like, share and subscribe to our channel Juvenile Gurukul for lots of these informative videos. Thank you all. I'm Kishola Dash, wrapping up this conversation with all of you from Juvenile Gurukul's 40 Days Board Prep Series, Christmas to Full Marks.